An epic history Drakenfell collaboration. In 1792, the French Revolution sparked a European conflict that would last a generation. A struggle for mastery of Europe and the world. A contest fought on land and sea. In this war of shifting alliances, the most enduring rivalry was between France and Britain. Britain could not challenge France on land, but at sea it was a different matter. Britain's Royal Navy was as dominant on the waves as Napoleon was to prove on land. And in an age when Britain had many skilled naval commanders, one stood out above the rest: Horatio Nelson, bold, inspiring and brilliant. For the British, he'd become a national hero and legend. These are the stories of his greatest battles. 1805, the short peace between Britain and France has collapsed and the two rivals are at war once more. Britain, Russia and Austria have formed a new alliance, known as the Third Coalition. Napoleon renews the French alliance with Spain. The newly crowned Emperor of the French is determined to finally defeat Britain. The nation that bankrolls the alliances against him, decimates French overseas trade, and blockades her ports. He has assembled a large invasion force on the Channel coast. His battle-hardened troops will make short work of the British if he can control the Channel long enough to land them safely. The British Navy outclasses the French in number of ships and skill, but it cannot be everywhere at once, so Napoleon will use one of his favorite military principles, concentration of force, to secure temporary dominance at the decisive point. French and Spanish squadrons scattered in numerous ports will be brought together to form a giant, combined fleet to take on the British. The Emperor gives command of the first phase of this mission to Admiral Pierre Villeneuve. Villeneuve had joined the Navy as a 14-year-old trainee officer and seen service in the American War of Independence. A supporter of the French Revolution, he was one of the few aristocratic officers to remain in naval service and was promoted to Rear Admiral. In 1798, he commanded the 80-gun Guillaume Tell at the Battle of the Nile. His was one of the few ships to escape that disaster. He was later captured when Malta fell to the British, but was released when peace was declared. In 1804, the commander of the French Mediterranean fleet dies of a heart attack, and Villeneuve replaces him with the rank of Vice Admiral. In temperament, Villeneuve could not be more unlike Nelson. In 1805, he writes to the Minister of the Navy, "You will be so good as to recall that I have not asked for command of this squadron. What is more, I have always sought a practical and useful career as opposed to one filled with glory." On the 30th of March, 1805, following the Emperor's orders, Admiral Villeneuve sails from Toulon with 11 ships of the line, slips past Nelson's blockading force, and joins up with 6 Spanish ships and a further French ship off Cadiz. Now with 18 ships, Villeneuve sets off on a 5-week crossing of the Atlantic. On arrival in the French West Indies, he links up with another 2 French ships under Rear Admiral Magon. The British, meanwhile, are in disarray. When Nelson lost track of Villeneuve, he guessed the French were heading back to Egypt and raced off in pursuit. He reaches Alexandria before he realizes his mistake. So he doubles back and sets course for the West Indies. A full month behind Villeneuve. Nelson makes the crossing in just 4 weeks, but misses Villeneuve by a matter of days, who sails back to Europe on the 8th of June. But then a lucky break for the British. Nelson sends a fast-sailing ship to carry his reports back to England, and by sheer good chance it spots Villeneuve's fleet in the Atlantic. Their course is not back to the Med, as Nelson had assumed, but more northerly towards the Channel. Vice Admiral Calder, with 15 ships of the line, is put on high alert, and on the 22nd of July he intercepts Villeneuve off Cape Finisterre. In confused fighting in heavy fog, the British capture 2 Spanish ships, but Calder fails to prevent Villeneuve reaching the Spanish port of Ferrol. The French admiral then makes a fateful decision. His orders are clear: proceed to Brest and then on to the Channel. But reports of ships to the north persuade him that he is about to be attacked by Britain's powerful Channel fleet. His ships, battered by Atlantic gales and battle, cannot fight again without repairs. So he retreats to Cadiz. Here he is soon blockaded by a growing number of British ships. Napoleon is furious when he receives this news. Villeneuve does not possess the strength of character to command a frigate, he tells the naval minister. It is nearly autumn, and a cross-channel invasion is now impossible. Villeneuve has failed him, and Napoleon must look for other ways to defeat the British. In late August, Napoleon's troops break camp at Boulogne and march off to face the Austrians and Russians on the Danube. In the meantime, he sends orders to Admiral Villeneuve to sail into the Mediterranean, where he is to support French operations in Italy. But his Franco-Spanish combined fleet is not in good shape. It is short of supplies and men and blockaded by a powerful British force, now commanded by Admiral Nelson. Villeneuve decides to stay put, but when Napoleon informs him that he is being replaced as commander, the French admiral is finally stung into action. On the 18th of October 1805, he orders the Franco-Spanish fleet to put to sea. Admiral Villeneuve's combined fleet consists of 33 ships of the line, 18 French and 15 Spanish. Admiral Villeneuve's flagship is the 80-gun Bucentaure. The Spanish contingent is led by Admiral Gravina aboard Príncipe de Asturias of 112 guns. Nelson had been waiting for the enemy with 34 ships of the line, but has just had to send 6 to Gibraltar for resupply and refit. Vice Admiral Calder, aboard HMS Prince of Wales, is sent home to face a court-martial for his lackluster performance at Cape Finisterre. So Nelson's now slightly outnumbered, 27 ships against 33, though he has 3 powerful first-rates, his own flagship Victory, Britannia, and Vice Admiral Collingwood's Royal Sovereign. Both fleets are accompanied by several frigates for scouting and relaying messages. On paper, the Royal Navy is heavily outgunned, but the British know they can rely on superior seamanship and faster gunnery to even the odds. After 8 weeks in Cadiz, Villeneuve is finally back at sea. But he's given his own captains little warning of their sudden departure and has set sail in unfavourable light winds. As they crawl south along the Spanish coast, they are spotted by British frigates. They relay news of the enemy's departure to Nelson and the British fleet patrolling 40 miles offshore. Nelson immediately sets course to intercept. On the morning of the 21st of October, Villeneuve's fleet is about 10 miles northwest of Cape Trafalgar, bound for the Straits of Gibraltar. When the British fleet is spotted closing in from the northwest, Villeneuve faces a dilemma. He considers running for the Mediterranean or facing the British in battle, but ultimately he orders the fleet to reverse course and sail back to Cadiz. This abrupt change in course, combined with light winds and many inexperienced crews, causes the combined fleet's formation to become extremely ragged. It now forms a rough crescent stretching over 5 miles of sea. Psychologically and tactically, Villeneuve's fleet is already on the back foot. The contrast with the British fleet could not be starker. Nelson's crews are eager for battle, and he has devised a bold plan to ensure a decisive action. By 11 a.m., the British fleet is formed up for battle and closing with Villeneuve as fast as the light breeze will allow. Nelson had decided on a basic plan of attack weeks earlier. The orthodox tactic at this time would be to line up his fleet alongside the enemy and trade broadsides with them. But Nelson believes these methods too often lead to an indecisive outcome. Instead, he has decided on the bold but not unprecedented tactic of attacking in 2 columns. These will pierce the enemy line and split their fleet into sections, to be overwhelmed and defeated in close action before the enemy vanguard can double back to help. The major drawback is that during the approach, the lead British ships of each column will come under heavy fire, while being completely unable to fight back. Naturally, Nelson decides he himself will lead one column aboard HMS Victory. The other will be led by Vice Admiral Collingwood aboard HMS Royal Sovereign. As the British ships begin their approach, Nelson asks that a signal be sent to the fleet. England confides that every man will do his duty. For ease of signalling, it becomes, England expects that every man will do his duty. Light winds mean the 2 British columns creep forward at around 3 knots, not much more than walking speed. The lead British ships will be under fire for a tense 45 minutes before they reach the enemy line. The gunfire starts at noon with the French, 74 Fougueux, firing ranging shots towards Royal Sovereign. Gradually, gunfire from the combined fleet builds to a steady thunder. The French and Spanish gun crews lack practice and their ships are side on to the wind, increasing the roll. So most of their shots miss their mark. A new signal flies up Victory's mizzen mast. Engage the enemy more closely. It will remain there until later shot away. As the range closes, the French and Spanish gunners begin to land more and more shots on target. The sails of HMS Victory and Royal Sovereign are peppered by round shot. Spars are knocked down. Victory's ship's wheel is hit and destroyed. Casualties steadily mount. Twice British ships try to overtake Victory to protect Nelson, but he orders them back into position. Nelson intends to break the enemy line at Villeneuve's flagship, the Bucentaure. Targeting the enemy commander is part of his ruthless approach, but the enemy's ragged formation and a lack of identifying pennants means he has to guess which is Villeneuve's flagship. Fortunately, he guesses right, and around 12.30, HMS Victory is poised to break the line just astern of Bucentaure. But it's Collingwood's fast-sailing Royal Sovereign to the south that will break the line first. The British have held their fire during their long approach. They've been under attack for half an hour with no way to fight back. That's about to change. Every British gun is double-shotted, loaded with 2 rounds. Now, as HMS Royal Sovereign passes the Spanish first-rate Santa Ana, she fires a massive raking broadside into her stern. Several minutes later, HMS Victory passes astern of Bucentaure. She delivers a devastating broadside that cripples Villeneuve's flagship and kills or injures almost half its crew. Despite these 2 powerful blows, the lead British ships are, for the moment, hugely outnumbered and in real danger. Collingwood's Royal Sovereign is under fire from all directions. The second ship of his column, HMS Belial, has been completely demasted. HMS Mars is also taking punishing fire. HMS Victory has got tangled up with Redoutable, which has a strong complement of French Marines. In intense close-quarters fighting, the isolated British vanguard must hang on until the rest of their ships can join the action. After 20 precarious minutes, British ships are arriving one by one to join the battle. They pile into the disordered enemy formation, unleashing double-shotted broadsides to devastating effect. Victory now receives much-needed support from Téméraire. As successive British ships enter the fray, a mass brawl develops. It's exactly what Nelson wants, the enemy unable to escape and pummeled at close range. Meanwhile, Admiral Dumanoir's Franco-Spanish vanguard has begun an agonizingly slow turn to try to rejoin the battle, but it will be more than an hour before they're in position. HMS Africa, a 64-gun third rate, had earlier become separated from the British fleet. Her captain, Henry Digby, now deliberately misinterprets Nelson's order to withdraw to safety. Instead, he charges straight into the battle from the north. HMS Africa sails alone past the entire enemy vanguard, trading broadsides all the way. Then she joins the attack on the giant Santissima Trinidad of 136 guns. Victory and Redoutable are now locked in a brutal close-quarters slugging match. British guns smash the French hull to splinters, while Redoutable's crew assemble on deck to board Victory. At this crucial moment, HMS Téméraire appears on Redoutable's starboard side and blasts her deck with grape shot. The French boarding party is mown down. All 3 ships become locked together and drift into another French ship, Fougeot. Some French and Spanish ships, like Admiral Magon's Algeciras, have used their time in port to train their crews for boarding and close-quarter combat. It makes them dangerous foes in close action, but time and again, just as a French or Spanish ship forms a boarding party, a British ship emerges through the smoke to sweep their deck with grape shot. Superior British gunnery is slowly grinding down the enemy. One by one, the first French and Spanish ships haul down their colours as a sign of their surrender. At the height of the battle, a French sniper, perched high on Redoutable's mizzenmast, spots the British commander on the quarterdeck of HMS Victory. Nelson is easily distinguished by his bright decorations, which, against advice, he has refused to remove. Now he's struck by a single musket ball, which plunges into his shoulder and down through his spine. "They finally succeeded," Nelson exclaims. "I am dead." He's carried below for medical treatment, where he has brought frequent reports on the progress of the battle. It is now 3 hours since battle was joined. To the south, the French 74 Achille, under fire from multiple ships, has caught fire, while to the north, Dumanoir's vanguard is finally in position to join the battle, but only Intrepide makes a determined attack. The other ships fire a few ineffective long-range shots, then veer away rather than engage the British in close action. One captured Spanish crew, witnessing this conduct, is so enraged that they offer to open fire on their supposed allies. But the French ships soon slip out of range. They can see that Villeneuve's fleet is beaten. More than a dozen French and Spanish ships have now surrendered. Those that can are escaping. The news reaches Nelson, who hovers between life and death on the orlop deck of HMS Victory. He knows the end is near. He whispers to his old friend and comrade, Captain Hardy, "Take care of my dear Lady Hamilton," and then, "Kiss me, Hardy." A few moments pass. "Thank God I have done my duty," Nelson murmurs, and dies soon after. Around 6 p.m, at the southern edge of the battle, the fires aboard Achille reach her grand magazine. The ship is obliterated in an enormous explosion that kills half her crew instantly. This spectacular, bloody event proves the final act of a battle that has claimed 5,000 lives, and it is now clear that it has been a total and decisive British victory. Of the 33 French and Spanish ships under Villeneuve's command, 17 have been captured and 1 destroyed. And though several British ships are badly damaged, none have been lost. The casualties are similarly one-sided. Admiral Villeneuve is among several thousand prisoners taken by the British. He is allowed to return to France, but 6 months later he is dead. By suicide or murder remains unclear. The Spanish commander, Admiral Gravina, escapes the battle but dies of his wounds 6 months later. While for the British, victory is tainted by the loss of their own brilliant talismanic commander. As he lay dying, Nelson's last order to the fleet had been to drop anchor, fearing bad weather. He was not wrong. A ferocious Atlantic storm soon develops, battering the victorious fleet and its many prizes. The gales howl for days, causing chaos and scattering battle-damaged ships across miles of ocean. The French and Spanish take advantage, trying to retake some of their captured ships. French frigates recapture the Spanish first-rate Santa Ana. 4 captured crews rise up against their British captors and retake their own ships, but 3 of these are driven ashore and wrecked. Despite immense efforts, the British save only 4 of their 17 captured prizes. The rest are burned or lost to the storm, which probably claims more French and Spanish lives than the battle itself. For the French, there seems no end to the bad news. 2 weeks later, Admiral Dumanoir and his 4 French ships, which had escaped the battle, are intercepted by Captain Strachan's squadron off Cape Ortegal. All 4 French ships are captured. For the British, it caps a remarkable fortnight of naval triumphs. Admiral Nelson's body is returned to England aboard HMS Victory, preserved in a cask of brandy lashed to the main mast. He becomes the first non-royal to receive a state funeral in Britain since the Duke of Marlborough 83 years earlier. For 3 days, his body lies in state in the Painted Hall of Greenwich Hospital, where it is visited by thousands. Then he is moved by river to St. Paul, S Cathedral, where the funeral procession includes 32 admirals, 189 carriages and thousands of troops. Nelson's coffin, made of timbers from the French warship L'Orient, is placed in a sarcophagus in the cathedral crypt. News of Trafalgar takes 4 weeks to reach Napoleon near Vienna. He is en route to his own great victory over the Russians and Austrians at Austerlitz. But of the 2 famous battles of 1805, Trafalgar will have far greater consequences. The Battle of Trafalgar is one of the most crushing victories in naval history. It did not save Britain from invasion; that danger had already passed. But the sheer scale of victory ensured British supremacy at sea was unchallenged for the remaining 10 years of the Napoleonic Wars. Napoleon had to look for other means to defeat the British, a path that would lead him into grave errors and pave the way for his own eventual defeat. For Britain, the naval dominance secured at Trafalgar would underpin her imperial power throughout the 19th century, an age she dominated as the world's leading global empire. The Royal Navy would not face a serious challenge at sea until the Battle of Jutland, more than a century later. Right now, do you think AI is improving the quality of videos you're seeing online, or the opposite? Perhaps, like us, you've seen a flood of new documentaries with derivative scripts, robotic narration, and wildly inaccurate imagery. At Epic History, we always have used, and promise to continue using, a skilled team of humans to ensure everything we create is reliable and authentic, from research to scripts, animation, and they've promised me narration. So if you're tired of sifting through dodgy AI-generated content just to find something worth watching, then perhaps it's time to head over to prestige streaming service Nebula, where you'll only find high-quality human-made videos. There are hundreds of great creators on Nebula across all genres, so whatever your interests, you're guaranteed to find something you'll love. From original movies and entertainment series to documentaries covering everything from science and technology to travel, true crime, And of course, history. The history homepage shows just how much Nebula has to offer, including Nebula Originals, only available to subscribers. If you like our channel, we're sure you'll also love Real-Time History's brilliant catalogue of military history documentary, with recent episodes on Desert Storm, the Vietnam War, and their brand new video, U-Boats Unleashed, the Battle of the Atlantic, 1940. And just like our videos, they're all available to Nebula subscribers first and ad-free. Nebula is a streaming service built by creators to offer a superior experience to other video platforms. Right now, it's the most interesting, fastest-growing independent video platform on the internet. And because Nebula fairly rewards its creators, your sign-up actively supports channels like ours, as we work hard to create ever more ambitious history content. Plus, we've got a great discount for Epic History viewers. The link in our video description gets you 40% off Nebula's annual plan. That's just $36 a year or $3 a month. Even better, the Nebula Lifetime Plan offers lifetime access, no strings for $300, and helps Nebula to fund more of its original creator-owned series. Thanks to all our existing Nebula subscribers, and for everyone else watching, we hope to see you there soon. Thanks for watching on Nebula. Big thanks to Drachinifel for expert research and advice throughout our series on Nelson's battles. For anyone with an interest in naval history, his own YouTube channel is essential viewing, packed with profiles of historic warships and expert discussion of naval technology and operations. Thank you to Jack Fine Art and the estate of Derek Gardner for permission to use his painting of the battle in this video. You can view more of his fantastic paintings online using the link in the video description. Thanks as always to the Patreon supporters who help to make this channel possible, from builders such as Trey Tatro, Ellington Total War and Neil Dingra, to citizens like Casual Donor, O_M and Drew, and heroes like William Fowler. Join their ranks by joining us on Patreon, where you'll get early, ad-free access to new videos, exclusive updates and votes on future video topics.